Oh my goodness. Well, look, we are just a few days away from this election. I look, there ha there has to be a big scandal that would knock Mamdani out. A big scandal. And even
It would have
then,
to be like
I'm not
finding out he
sure
was a
who.
murderer. It'd have to be something like that. You mean he was a
Yeah,
murderer? That it would have to be huge. It would have people don't like Cuomo. He's not liked. People and you know when he was governor, nobody liked him then. He just had this advantage of fundraising. And
yeah.
so he got through time after time after time.
But hang on, if Mamdani was a murderer, now people will question, well, who did he murder? Because people like Luigi Mangione too. I'm just saying. Which one? Who did he take out? Welcome to the Jaybefaunt channel. I'm your host, James Faunt Leroy. So good to see all of you guys here joining me today. Today I have a very special guest. She is one of the editors of Black Agenda Report and writer, journalist, as well as part of Black Alliance for Peace, and also affectionately known as Auntie Margaret. Margaret Kimberley joining me once again. Good to have you back.
It's good to be here, my dear nephew, if I may call you that. It's good. It's been a while, so it's good to see you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Look, it's been a long few months, especially as an outsider looking in. Right, I'm in Florida. Go ahead, feel sorry. I feel sorry for myself. But as far as being here in Florida, we're looking at what's going on in New York in regards to Zohran Mamdani.
Mhm.
And as far as his race is progressing along, and we all have our critiques,
Mhm.
that being said, but this is something I think that we haven't seen before. Someone, and to me, he's not far left, but this person at this level of the left being able to succeed, or he's nearing the apex, right? He's within a grasp. Have you seen this ever before in your lifetime?
I have not. I have not seen someone who was, first of all, targeted by the right wing, targeted by the billionaires who run politics in New York City, defy them, defy the ruling class, and win the Democratic Party primary and be close to becoming. I mean, the election's in like a week and a half. So he has a good chance of winning. I think I have issues with him, and I'll get to that. But I think it's very, very important that billionaires like Bill Ackman publicly said they were going to defeat him, to put all this money behind Andrew Cuomo and just assume Cuomo would win the Democratic primary and defy all of those odds, I think is amazing. And I think it's wonderful. Um, because usually money does determine outcomes, but I think it's an indication of the level of frustration and disgust with the duopoly, with the elements of the Democratic Party. Andrew Cuomo himself is very problematic and unpopular. Um, so I think it's very important that the billionaires are not could lose, that the person they wanted may not win. I think that's extremely important. I think it's important for the Democratic Party, for someone who's on the left end of the Democratic Party spectrum to succeed in a race that's being followed so closely, becoming mayor of the biggest city in the country. So it's to me, it is good news if he wins. Very good news.
So let me ask you this: do you think that it will set a new trend within the Democratic Party of people who feel like they can somewhat reform, and they feel like there's almost like a door opening with the Mamdani administration, and so they feel like they can copy the same thing over and over. I think there's a gentleman that's running right now in Minneapolis, if I'm correct, who has similar policies to Mamdani. He's running as well, and I think he's been endorsed by Ilhan Omar. But this is almost like there's almost like copycats of Mamdani wanting to pop up in different cities across the nation. Do you think that this is going to be a new wave within the Democratic Party?
I hope so. It's possible, and nothing succeeds like success. So if Mamdani wins, is his name Fatah in Minnesota? Oh God, I'm blanking on his name. I probably shouldn't even mention it. If he wins, then yes, that will become a trend. Then you will see people stepping forward, knowing that there's a possibility of victory for the people to know that they can get what they want, and that we don't have to listen to the failed Democratic Party oligarchy, which tells us somebody is too far left, quote unquote, to win, and then to have people win. The Democrats, these billionaires, they've destroyed the Democratic Party. They guaranteed Trump's victory, and they're still strutting around telling us that they can decide who is, excuse me, and isn't going to be in office. So I think if Mamdani wins, it's going to change a lot of things. Of course, it's all varies by geography. Maybe New York, but not another. Of course.
Sure.
But to be told that you can't have this, you can't have even a little bit of change, you can't have any reform if you dare suggest that we change anything, even a little bit, we'll make sure you're defeated. And for that person to win anyway, I think will be huge.
Yeah. Let me ask you this in regards to, because one element that I think is missing is we haven't really seen third parties, like the traditional third parties that are present.
Mm-hmm.
And with the critiques that many of us on the left have of Zoran Mamdani, do you think that there's some failure within the third parties that should have put up a candidate in New York? Or do you think that their hands were kind of tied in some way, shape, or form?
Well, there was many Greens said, I am a Green, said that Mamdani should not have run in the Democratic Party primary at all. He should have just waited till November and run as an independent. That's, an interesting point of view. I think in order to get public attention, he had to run in the Democratic primary and win. Okay. Third parties, the problem the third parties have is they don't have money. Green Party doesn't have money. The same people that we just talked about, the rich people who they decide which parties thrive and which ones die, don't have money. Corporate media collude and don't give them attention or amplify the criticisms of them. So it's really an uphill battle for third parties. I'm not telling people you should not be a member of a third party or support third party candidates, but you're really up against it. And right now, the Green Party, thanks to Andrew Cuomo, the Green Party doesn't even have ballot status in New York State. In New York, it's just Democrats and Republicans. New York has, I think, the worst level of choice of any state in the country. Basically, and Andrew Cuomo, who's a horrible, vindictive person, which has harmed the people of the state, by the way. He was very angry when he was challenged in a Democratic primary by Cynthia Nixon, known as an actress, but also a very active person. Anyway, she challenged him. He won. He won handily. It wasn't even close. But she got the Working Families Party line. And he decided to make sure that, now the Working Families Party in New York, it's just the Democratic Party. It's not a different party. It's not a different slate of candidates. but he made sure that other parties could not get on the ballot. He created a party like the Women's Independence Party, something very crazy. It was just him being vindictive. And he made sure he raised the, he put it in a budget bill. Everybody went along, nobody complained. That now it raised the threshold, the number of signatures you need on nominating petitions, which just put it out of reach for the Greens, Libertarians, and others. So anyway, the Greens can't even get on the ballot in New York State. You'd need a lot of money. You'd need so many things Greens don't have in order to be able to surmount that obstacle. So Greens can't even get anybody on the ballot. Because of Andrew Cuomo, another reason for him not to be the mayor of New York City. Let me tell you something else about Cuomo. New York, in the last census, the 2020 census, New York State lost a congressional seat.
Okay.
If only 89 more people had filled out census form, New York would not have lost that seat. But Andrew Cuomo was having a fight with Bill de Blasio, the mayor of New York City, and decided not to help, because the governor has money to give. He delayed allocating the money for the census. And so he bears, I believe, more blame than anybody else to have come so close. If the governor had actually put his weight behind the census, New York State wouldn't have lost that congressional seat. What does it mean to lose a congressional seat? Where did that seat go? It went to a red state. It went to Florida or Texas or one of the other states that's popular. New York's population grew, but not at the same rate as other states. But at any rate, the loss of a congressional seat is a loss of an electoral vote. He didn't even care about the state. He cared about being vindictive, continuing this pissing match with Bill de Blasio, the then mayor of New York City. He's awful. He's awful in so many ways. And it's very important that he lose. I generally don't go along with this lesser evilism, but I believe there's a lot of value in Mamdani winning and Cuomo being, it's like sticking a stake through the heart of a vampire to make sure he's dead. Because he's got a lot of rich people behind him. Yeah. And he can run credible races as long as rich people give him money, but he needs to be dead politically. This needs to be the end of Andrew Cuomo.
I mean, between Andrew Cuomo and Ted Cruz, I mean, vampire, Grandpa Munster, which one? I don't know. But one of the things that I was thinking about is, I mean, you got to have the green to run as a green, essentially, right? And that really just speaks to the degradation. Can I even say degradation of our electoral system? Because, I mean, our electoral system has always been designed this way. So it's not really a degradation. It's just, it's a feature, not a bug, right? But, with my critiques of Zoran Mamdani, at the same time, going through, look, I'm not looking forward to my food stamps being cut November 1st because I literally am on food stamps. I get it. People don't want their rent to go up. I don't want mine to go up either. And so it's like, what do? Either you get Dracula, essentially, or you get somebody that's going to be kind of moderate. I mean, I think he's gonna govern as a moderate. He's gonna kind of govern more like a de Blasio, but at the same time, your rent's not going to go up. And so these are real material implications within the city that people really have to weigh. And it's like, if they stay home, then it's going to be left up to either Cuomo or Mamdani. And I was watching Selby Sabs last night, and she said the one thing that needs to happen is Cuomo has to lose. He has to lose because given his history with sexual assault, with the murder of senior citizens during the pandemic in nursing homes, I lost my grandmother a couple years back. If my grandmother's death was caused by somebody like the governor, I would have daggers in my eyes for him. So I completely understand why people are feeling some kind of way, especially when it comes to Mamdani. And a lot of the faults of Mamdani are really him tripping on when it comes to foreign policy.
Yes.
But the mayor doesn't control foreign policy.
Except it's becoming, in New York, it's an issue. Israel's an issue all the time.
Yeah,
And that's another reason to hate Cuomo. He is officially signed on as one of Benjamin Netanyahu's defense attorneys. Did you know that?
No.
He has included himself on Netanyahu's defense team to defend him against his arrest warrant by the International Criminal Court. Cuomo made that quite a centerpiece of his campaign, being a Zionist, being a supporter of Israel. He was discussed starting a We Love Israel political party. I mean, seriously, he's been one of Netanyahu's lawyers. He was going to have a Zionism forever. I don't know what the hell they were going to call it. Political party just to promote Israel's interests. And let's not beat around the bush. It's because there's so many wealthy Zionists in New York City, people he and others depend upon to get into office and raise, the millions of dollars they need to do that. So they made that, and it was an issue in debates, Democratic debates. Would you visit Israel? Really? We don't need anything in New York. We don't have any concerns in the 5 boroughs. It's like, will somebody go to Israel or not? But this was a question actually asked at debates. So now my issue, you mentioned foreign policy. He very foolishly called the presidents of Cuba and Venezuela dictators. He, for reasons known only to himself, he was interviewed by, I can't think of his first name, Ramos. He used to be on Telemundo. He and his daughter are journalists and right-wingers. His daughter put together some dumb documentary about Cuba. She wandered around Havana and then said Cuba's afraid of their people or some nonsense like that. Oh God, now it's killing me that I am going to do something I never do. I'm going to look up the man's name. I just know it's no. Oh, fuck. Anyway, Jorge Ramos. Is it Jorge Ramos?
Was it Jorge Ramos?
He used to be with Telemundo. Yes, that's it. Okay. Anyway, sorry about that. It was just killing me. I felt bad. I felt bad that I wasn't. I did not remember the man's name. At any rate, very right wing. He's Mexican American actually, but he was interviewed by them. I don't know why he was. There are other Latino journalists. They're not from New York. They don't have the politics of most Latino New Yorkers. And they asked, do you think Maduro in Venezuela or President Diaz-Canel in Cuba, or do you believe they're dictators? And he didn't answer the question, which what he should have said is, we need to stop calling people dictators. They have a different system. You may like them, you may not like them. But the important thing is the United States needs to stop interfering in the affairs of their countries. That's how you answer that question, I think.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't answer it. Then he was pressured and he says, well, actually, I think they are because they have, harmed their opposition. They've jailed their opposition. Some of those people they jailed are actively trying to overthrow their government. So I would hope that they would. But at any rate, he allowed himself to get caught up in that and to call them dictators, which is very foolish. He lost a lot of respect from people on the left. He may have actually lowered his the participation of some of those folks. So it was disappointing to me, to say the least. I was actually very angry with him that he allowed himself to get caught up in that. If he's going to talk about foreign policy, then he's got to lead with, if you're on the left, the US doesn't have the right to interfere in other countries. I mean, he had some mild criticism of sanctions not helping. Sanctions kill people. I mean, someone actually did a study of the impact of sanctions in Venezuela when in Trump's first term, and it's like 50,000 people died from lack of medicine, from lack of food. All the the U.S. really, the sanctions, it makes it difficult for the target nation to function internationally, to be part of the world economic system. They made sure Venezuela couldn't sell its oil. I mean, it was devastating. That's why so many Venezuelans came to the United States. The U.S. destroyed their economy. And one of the things sanctions did was kill people. So for him, if he was going to talk about that, all he needed to say was the U.S. needs to stop interfering in their affairs. The U.S. is on the verge of having an actual war against Venezuela, attacking Venezuela militarily. And all he needs to say is, no, the United States doesn't have the right to do that. So that was his stumble in foreign policy. And I don't think the issue as mayor, the mayoralty in New York City is a powerful office, but there are certain things that the city can only do with approval of New York State. So it's the MTA, the Metropolitan Transportation Authority, determines subway fares, and the governor has appoints most members of the MTA board. So he said the buses should be free. Buses were free, by the way, during the pandemic. Everybody acts like that is the most outlandish thing ever. And I'm like, wait a minute, that was just 4 or 5 years ago. I remember the buses being free. It worked just fine. Can the city afford it? What are the budgetary implications? What would service be like? I mean, those are all good questions. But just to dismiss it out of hand as some lunatic proposal when it's something we had a few years ago, it just shows you how the establishment, the duopoly, the ruling class, the 1%, how determined they are to make sure that nothing changes. How much will he be able to do? We don't know. But I always say you should get the person who's as much to the left as possible, because they all go to the right once they get into office. So it's best to have the person who's most to the left get in.
Yeah, that's true. Me personally, if they would have asked me about if they are dictators, I mean, the safest route would have been the America First route. Why are we talking about other countries? I'm running for mayor of New York. Mm-hmm. And so instead of sending money to, sanction and do war over there, we should spend that money here in cities like New York. I would have just said, no, stop all that noise. I'm not going to invest my time into talking about other countries when I'm here to talk about New York. I'm running for mayor. Right. I'm not running for mayor for Caracas. I'm not running for mayor in Mexico City. I'm not running for mayor in Tel Aviv. I'm running for mayor of New York City. And so it's like he could have just clapped back in that way, and that would have probably shut him up.
I think so. He might have been criticized, but he would have been criticized by the people you want to criticize him, and not by the people who he needs in order to win. I hope he learned a lesson. The fact that he was interviewed by the Jorge and Paolo Ramos was stupid. It was a bad. Whoever advised him to do that didn't give him good advice. And I hope he learns the right lesson from this incident. But it casts doubt on people who, is he going to be just like AOC? Is he going to be really a leftist? And it proved his detractors right, is I think the problem for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a look at this as well, because I want to talk about the polling as well. There's some new polls that had actually just came out today, just a couple of hours ago. This was actually out of CBS. And so this says Zohran Mamdani maintains a double-digit lead in New York City mayor's race, but it's much tighter if Curtis Sliwa drops out, new poll finds. And so there's a new poll from the AARP and Gotham Polling finds Democrat Zohran Mamdani is holding his lead at 43.2%. Independent candidate Andrew Cuomo is in second place at 28.9%, and Republican Curtis Sliwa is the third place at 19.4%. And so it shows this is how big of a gap it is. Honestly, that's a major gap between Cuomo and Mamdani. And there is now pressure on Sliwa to drop out. And people are pressuring him to say, you need to drop out in order to help Andrew Cuomo at least get a shot. Because looking at this, I mean, almost 29% compared to 43%. That's a major gap that I don't think that Cuomo could close within the next 10 days.
Oh, I don't think so either. It's Curtis Lee was known. He was first known as he had this group. What were they called? They patrolled in the subway. I can't remember anything. They all wore red berets like he did, and they were patrolling civilian volunteer. Well, they weren't volunteers. They did get paid, but guardian angels they were called. Finally, it came to me. And they patrolled the subways to keep the subway safe. And that's how he first came to fame back in the 90s. So he's running. He doesn't have a chance to win himself, and he's being pressured to drop out because that's going to help Cuomo. Now, I don't know if everybody who's a Republican will vote for Cuomo if he drops out. I don't know that that's true. It is a significant gap. I don't know if it will help Cuomo that much. But Sliwa's race points out the corruption in politics. The Republican Party basically gave up in this race. There are some Republican officials in New York City. There are Staten Island's Republican. There are a couple neighborhoods in Queens that are Republican. So there are people who could have run, who have the requisite experience to be mayor, but they went with the money, and they let these rich people say, just back Cuomo, rather than have a Republican who might have been more competitive against Mamdani. So Sliwa has some name recognition. So yeah, he can get a decent chunk of voters, but it's an indication that they could have had a better candidate had they not just given in to Cuomo and the billionaire saying, well, we'll just give him a lot of money. And then it was Adams. Adams did not run in the Democratic primary. His plan was to run as an independent. But because he's broken so many campaign laws, he can't raise money. And then he dropped out. And yesterday he endorsed Cuomo. And like a month ago, he's like, I'm staying in the race. Cuomo's a snake. Cuomo's a liar. Actually, forget that. I endorse him. So had these people stood on their alleged convictions, they might have had a more competitive race and had a Republican who had a chance to beat Mamdani, but they went along with the corruption.
I'm telling you right now, Eric Adams, he left on that midnight train to Georgia.
He is quite a character. The fact that he became mayor at all is amazing. And that once in office, he just is a combination of being in over his head. I mean, I believe he was a state senator. He was Brooklyn Borough president. So he knew his way around politics, but he did not have good people with him. And they were either stupid and or corrupt. People were resigning. He was indicted. One of his top aides had to resign. She was indicted. The police commissioner had to quit. It was just one scandal after another. He had, I mean, it's just stupid stuff like the Turkish Airlines buying him plane tickets. The mayor's got to pay for his own tickets for trips. And that's kind of basic. I mean, that's like, conflicts of interest 101. Then he had straw donors, people who he listed as donors who weren't really openly doing favors for people who had contributed to his campaign. Just rookie mistakes, just dumb corruption. And he couldn't, it was kind of comical. The FBI confiscated his phone. And he said, I don't know the password, which is actually the thing to say if you're, the cops take your phone. But anyway, there was something in it that led to him being indicted. And Trump is the one who bailed him out. Trump pardoned him. So there's no federal case against him. And that didn't help him any, that, you have a mayor who's crooked, but he's not going to jail because Trump helped him out. So he'll get to, he'll retire and he'll get a good pension. He'll have a nice life. And he won't be, January 1st, he will not be mayor anymore. So whatever else happens in 2026 is going to start off well in that regard.
Wow. Okay. Let's take a look at this as well. I wanted to share a little bit further because this polling also, they did the math if Sliwa dropped out and what would the numbers be. So let's just go down here. And so this is what would be the New York mayor's race if Sliwa dropped out. So Mamdani would still be ahead by 4 percentage points against Andrew Cuomo. And this is assuming that people who are voting for Sliwa would directly go to Cuomo. But the thing is we don't know. Some people may drop Sliwa. If Sliwa was to drop out, they may go straight to Mamdani. We never know.
They may, first of all, I'm noticing, so 44 and 40 is 84. So that's 16% who didn't answer or who aren't sure or something. So you don't know what all those people are going to do. Clearly, they're not sold on either one. Will they stay home? Will they vote? How will they vote? And as you said, you can't assume a Sliwa voter will become a Cuomo voter. We don't know. So, I mean, that puts Cuomo within striking distance. But, that's the problem is that Cuomo is unpopular. No one likes him. I shouldn't say no one, but you alluded to the sexual harassment charges, which led him to resign as governor. And now he says, I shouldn't have resigned. I should have fought the charges. But he was on the verge of being kicked out of the state legislature. It's not impeachment. I can't remember what it's called. But he was forced out. He'd lost support. He apparently engaged in a campaign of character assassination against his accusers. And during COVID, many elderly people died in nursing homes. And that all happened under his tenure. So people aren't forgetting that stuff. People don't forget. And he, it's so funny. They keep calling Mamdani a Nepo baby because his mother was a director. Well, how does that help you in politics? But his father was governor. Andrew Cuomo has never done anything in his life that his father didn't help him with. I mean, he became, he was HUD secretary under Clinton, but he got that because of his father. I mean, everything he ever did, he got because his father was Mario Cuomo, period. And people, it just leaves a bad taste for this person who leaves in his wake sexual harassment and dead grandmas. It's like, no, people aren't forgetting that. So, I just hope it's very important that this be the end of his political career. Very important.
Yeah, and one of the things that has recently came out was that Zohran Mamdani actually talked about how he would like to keep Jessica Tisch on as the New York City Police Commissioner. Jessica Tisch, from what I understand, she is also a Zionist. But one thing a lot of people don't know is Jessica Tisch comes from a very, very rich family as well. Let me share this with people so people know. This is out of Forbes. This is the Tisch family. They're worth $10.1 billion. So it says brothers Bob and Larry Tisch acquired Lowe's Theaters in 1959 and transformed the company into insurance, hotels, energy, and packaging conglomerate Lowe's Corporation. So it just, goes to show that they are extremely rich. It says Bob acquired 50% of the New York Giants for $75 million in 1991. Jonathan sits on the board alongside his siblings, Lori Tisch and Steve Tisch, who is executive vice president and chairman. $1 billion. So the Tisch family, who is are a billionaire family. So she's literally tied to wealth within New York.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate. He was, during the George Floyd protests, he talked about defunding the police, which is fine with me. I mean, NYPD has like a $10 billion budget. It's some outrageous sum of money. And this idea that every city agency can be cut except police is ridiculous. But he was being attacked as being anti-police, and you've got to fight crime. Crime rates are down in New York City as they are across the country. So I was disappointed also to hear him say he would keep Adams' person as the NYPD commissioner. I would hope he'd want his own person. And we need some change. And that's, if you're a leftist, that's where policy needs to change at the NYPD. I mean, it's horrible things the police do with impunity. They have this alleged so-called gang database, which is made up of teenagers. It's made up, most of the people on this gang database list are kids, some of them as young as 13, and they're just Black and brown kids who have encounters with police, and they put them on this list. Don't tell them, don't tell their parents. I mean, that's the kind of thing that I want to see change. And even the adults, people don't know they're on these lists. And if you get arrested for something, the prosecutors say, see, he's on the gang database, which doesn't, and they designate an apartment building, a housing complex, especially public housing, and say, that's a known gang location. It's a place where thousands of people live. So I want him to change those things, regardless of who the NYPD commissioner is. And if we're lucky, Tisch won't want the job, won't want to work with him. But there are a lot of things that need to be changed in New York City public policy. In general, there are things I like about, I'll give you an example. New York City's under court order to provide emergency housing for anybody who asks for it. So we have a huge homeless services department, a big shelter system, which is great. So a lot of big cities have a lot of homeless encampments. You don't see that a lot. You see there are individuals living on the street, but you don't see the scale of the problem you see elsewhere. So anybody who asks for housing can get it. I mean, it may not be anything you want, by the way. Some of these big congregate shelters, it's not something desirable. But it's a good thing that New York City budget is, so much of it is dedicated to providing people with emergency shelter. That's a good thing. We don't, things that we don't want to change. Big public university system, great mass transit system. So the things that the city of New York does for the people basically are good. Public hospitals, all kinds of things. And you just need to make sure you have the right person stewarding all of it, who really cares about people, who has some humanity, who will stand up to these forces who don't want us to have anything. So I would like to see him win. It's terrible for Cuomo to be the person he's running against, because you get support just because you're not Cuomo. But those are some of the things that I want to see him change. He has said the rent stabilized apartments, the rent can only be raised a certain amount. There's a rent control board, and they decide how much rents can go up. He has said he doesn't want rents to come up this year. And everyone's acting like this never happened before. De Blasio did it when he first got in. I think the first 2 years, there were no rent increases. And it was fine. But it just shows you the depth of corruption amongst the corporate media, the lies that they tell, and for everybody to act like this thing that happened a short time ago is something that can't ever happen. We can't have free buses. It's like, wait a minute, I rode a free bus a few years ago. Come on. But it just shows you how the system is stacked against any progressive change, any amount of progressive change we're told we cannot have, that it's just impossible.
Yeah, really, when we say progressive change, it means change, positive change that actually helps everybody, not just a small few. It's like, oh my God, God forbid we actually help everybody, you know? It's just...
Well, look what's happening in Washington. The government is shut down because Trump and the Republicans want to decimate Medicaid, decimate the SNAP benefit program. Democrats are finally showing a little spine. I hate that so many people are suffering. They want to end the subsidies for Obamacare. People are already getting huge bills for Obamacare is, people, I can't believe there are people still calling it socialized medicine. It was, subsidizing private insurers, basically. It's not cheap. It's not affordable, but it will be impossible for people to have if they let this this budget go through without a fight. And I was reading, there were some people who are still being paid, but the air traffic controllers soon will not be paid anymore, among other federal employees. It's horrible. It's absolutely awful. But I think it's very important. And Trump doesn't care. He doesn't care who's suffering and who isn't. The only Republican speaking up is Marjorie Taylor Greene, which I think is very funny to me. Liberals, Democrats, whenever if there's a Democrat in office, Republicans they focus on as being stupid or awful. And they were talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's so dumb. She's just, well, apparently not. She's the only one talking about what these increases in health insurance costs will mean to her constituents and to people across the country. So who knows how this is going to turn out. But it's terrible that so many people are going to suffer, are going to die, are not going to have food, are not going to have health care at all, kicked off of Medicaid. They made this big thing about the trope of a Medicaid recipient was a slacker living in his mother's basement. When it's when it's people in nursing homes, and it's people, many of whom work, when it's little kids, it's awful. I'm sorry, you look like you wanted to say something.
Okay. Here's. I'm gonna try to keep my composure. I don't give a damn if it's some slacker living in his parents' basement at home. I don't care. I don't care if it's a slacker living at home that's still getting Medicaid. I don't care. Because we have slackers that are extracting billions of dollars a year off the backs of workers, and they're sitting there at the inauguration shaking hands with Donald Trump. Those are the slackers. I don't care about somebody getting a couple of extra $100 in food stamps. I don't care about somebody getting some health care if they don't have a job. And here's the crazy part. I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent, but that got me fired up because people will go, oh, well, this person is lazy. I'm going to be real with you. I don't actually think laziness actually exists. Because what is laziness? Meaning that you're just sitting by and letting everybody else take care of you while you exploit the labor of other people. That sounds like a capitalist to me. So therefore, people who maybe don't have the drive or the will to be able to do something Maybe it's some type of trauma response or emotional, mental, and physical exhaustion that may be affecting them. But the problem isn't necessarily laziness, it's exploitation. And that's the crazy part, is that some people don't get that through their heads. And then they think, well, I work 70 hours a week, and so I'm able to do it. Ha 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 ha. And I'm like, you're praising being exploited?
Well, that's what this emphasis on individualism does to people. That somebody can brag about, I work 70 hours a week. All right, shouldn't you say to yourself, what's wrong with this picture? Why do I have to work so hard in order to survive? Or the fact that the people who get the most, the defense budget, it's almost $1 trillion now. And it goes up whether there's a Democrat or a Republican in the White House. $900 billion currently. It's most of the budget. It's still going up. So that's money for, when they say defense, well, now they're calling it the War Department again. But it's money to the military industrial complex. The Raytheons, the McDonnell Douglases, they are the ones getting that money. So, people like Trump who don't pay taxes. I mean, everybody knows the statistics. Working people pay more in taxes than the very wealthy, to your point. But the fact that people can run for office and not talk about their own constituents who are in need, and to turn people against each other, and to be mad that, why shouldn't people get free health care? I don't want them to die. So what? But I know people like as you were just saying, who are always mad about what somebody else gets, and it's never about the people getting the most. To your point, so that's the impasse in Congress with the federal funding and the federal government shutdown, and it's well, it doesn't say anything good about our system. It says a lot about corruption. It says a lot about a system that lacks legitimacy, and lacks legitimacy for a good reason. It shouldn't be seen as legitimate.
Yeah. And that's, I think that's one of the reasons why it's so interesting to see how it feels like Marjorie Taylor Greene is this close. I'm like, Miss Greene, you're this close. You're almost there. Just keep going. Just keep going. You're almost there, Marjorie. Because she's saying things, I'm just like, wait a minute. It feels like AOC's turning into Marjorie and Marjorie's turning into AOC. This is the craziest version of Freaky Friday I've ever seen in my entire life.
Well, she used to, I remember she hated AOC. She was like obsessed with her. She was following her around, saying crazy things. It was very bizarre. But now she's saying what somebody in Congress on the Republican side needs to be saying. And the fact that they're all afraid of Trump, that they either are true believers and believe what he is doing, believe in what he's doing, or they're just scared. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is the one with the courage to speak some kind of truth. Is well, it's as you were saying, it's very interesting. But we live in a society that's very cruel, gives people the least, and this idea that everybody's rolling in dough with SNAP benefits is just, you can get like $20 a month. I know people who were in need and applied for SNAP, and they was like, well, you're going to get $40 a month or some, this idea that people have refrigerators stocked with steak and lobster tails. When they get a tiny amount of money, the amount can change. I have a very close friend, and during the COVID pandemic, and there was extra money, qualified for Medicaid, and then suddenly didn't. Sorry. I mean, a big change in benefits for a retired person on a fixed income who worked all his life, and then nobody cares. But that's the kind of system we have, and that's what we need to be talking about politically, is very radical change.
Yeah, like for instance, I mean, and not to downplay any of the positive policies of a Mamdani, Zorhan Mamdani, but to me, he's barely scratching the surface of what should be done for working people. I'll put it this way. It's like a person that's been abused for so long, and then this person does the very mild thing of just being cordial and then bringing them a small little tiny flower. And I'm like, and that person who brought them a small little tiny flower, they just walked through an entire field of wild flowers that they could have picked, but instead they just took one little tiny one and just like, here you go.
And then you're like,
oh my, been abused, going, oh my God, this is such the nicest thing you ever did for me. And I'm like, if you thought what they did was nice, wait till you see what people like I would want to see can do.
I know. We have been, politics now is like selling soap. The Democrats are like, it's like a brand. It's not even a real political party. This party that's supposed to be the one that's going to help people. It's less and less and less. But the insidious thing is they know what people need. Remember when Biden first came into office and they were saying he's most progressive since FDR and he'll cut child poverty in half. Remember that? So they know what people want. But in the end, he just did what the oligarchs did, and he left office in disgrace, as far as I'm concerned. He didn't even, his approval rating was less than 50%. And the fact that these fat cat oligarchs were so passive and thought that he could win and then dumped him at the last, it was all very, very crazy. There's no political major party that actually speaks to the needs of the people, Democrats or Republicans.
Yeah. He did leave in disgrace. And then we found out that he potentially had prostate cancer the entire time.
How about that? Remember that we were told he was healthy, and anybody who raised the issue of his health. I mean, when he ran in 2020, I said he's not well. I knew it then. I don't know who's senile or has dementia, but I know when people aren't well. But they rigged it for him, and they put him in, and then they dumped him. And then we find out he had prostate cancer. It's like, really? I thought he was healthy and you weren't supposed to bring it up. So
wait till we find out once Trump leaves office.
What he had. I think he's had a stroke.
You think so?
Well, there are people who show his mouth is slightly drooping. There are other indicators of a mini stroke, as they call them. So I wouldn't be surprised. He's also 80 years old, or is about to be. So he's not well either. I mean, he's mentally not well. I mean, this super petty. He wants to build this ballroom. I don't really care if they change the White House design or half of it's torn down. I don't really care. But the fact that he is emphasizing this stuff, everything, this grandiosity. Excuse me. And I'm like, you're already president, dude. You were president once. You came back from disgrace, from a conviction in a court of law to be president again. What you need now? You need a ballroom, and he doesn't care about people. He's screwing people who voted for him. These farmers, now they're crying about this stupid trade war with China, which the U.S. cannot win. And China says, oh, to hell with you. We'll buy soybeans someplace else. He doesn't care. Bailing out Argentina and then saying, let's get beef from Argentina and let's screw the cattle people who voted for me. I mean, it's really horrible. It's really, he accentuates everything that's wrong. I don't want to, he's an exceptional person, not in a good way. But I also think it's important to point out that we should not exceptionalize him and think that everything was fine before he became president, because it wasn't.
He's the quintessential manifestation of what America is.
Yeah, like, yes, the worst aspects of the country, yes, just brought to light.
Yeah. A caricature, really. Yeah, definitely. I want to share this one more thing before I let you go, because I wanted to get into this too. As far as because we're talking still about Zoran Mamdani, this just came out as well. They're talking about the numbers here on CNN, and let's take a look.
There is no sign that the race is tightening at all, Kate Baldwin. If anything, Zoran Mamdani's lead is getting bigger, wider, larger. You look in September in a three-way, Mamdani was at 45, Cuomo 15 points back, Curtis Sliwa, the Republican, at 17. Look at where we are now. Mamdani is actually up. He's up to 49%. Then you got Cuomo at 31%, so a 15-point advantage back in September on the average. Now it is 18 points. The bottom line is this. Andrew Cuomo needs something very big to change at this particular point, unless, of course, he becomes Teddy Roosevelt overnight. Because if something doesn't change over the final 2.5 weeks of this campaign, this race is pretty much over.
What is the historical kind of precedent for a comeback like this?
Yeah, okay. So I went back through the history books, Kate Baldwin. You know I love going through my spreadsheets more than anything else. I love my girlfriend. I love my spreadsheets. I love cream soda. What happens if we look at the historical spreadsheets? Look at this. Mamdani leads by 18 points right now. Look at the largest polling average miss since 1989. You know what it was? It was 11 points. You don't have to be a mathematical genius to know 11 points is less than 18 points. So if Andrew Cuomo is going to come back and win, either something like Curtis Sliwa has to drop out of the race, or you need a polling miss that is nearly twice as large as the largest miss on record. So you're going to probably need something historically unprecedented for Andrew Cuomo to win this race if the polling average holds through Election Day.
There are lots of reasons why anyone picks one candidate over another. But what is some of what you're seeing why Mamdani's doing so well?
Okay, why is Mamdani doing so well? Sometimes, Kate Baldwin, politics is simple. Life is never simple, but politics can be simple. And it simply comes down to this. Mamdani is the likable guy and Andrew Cuomo isn't. This is not a case of the lesser of two evils. You look at the net favorable rating. Mamdani is at plus 15 points. Andrew Cuomo has been underwater in the average poll throughout this entire campaign.
So he's a jerk?
Basically, people, we lived with him before. He was governor.
He's a jerk that just talking platitudes, and then Mamdani's a really nice guy. Well, for what we know, is a nice guy, and he's like, hey, so looks like you're hungry. Looks like we need to do some public grocery stores, and maybe you guys don't need to pay for buses anymore.
People are ready for change. Everybody acted like it's such a grocery store thing. There are food deserts in New York City. So there should be some kind of a public option there. And people, it makes sense to people, and they want it. He's talking about what people want. To keep things simple, as he was saying.
But isn't the phrase, if you build it, they will come?
Yeah, line from a movie, but yes, it's appropriate.
But the thing is like, look, the funniest part is all you have to do is listen to the masses of people and go, oh, this is what you want? Okay, we'll give that to you. That's it. The crazy part is so simple. But that means you have to listen to the people instead of the small little teeny tiny group that hoards all the wealth.
Basically, they're the ones who don't like him. It's the rich people. The oligarchs don't like him.
Mm-hmm. It's a rich people.
I don't listen to the oligarchs any other time. Why would I listen to them now?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, look. We are just a few days away from this election. There has to be a big scandal that would knock Mamdani out. A big scandal. And even then,
it'd have to be like finding out he was a murderer. It'd have to be something like that. You mean he was a murderer? That it would have to be huge. People don't like Cuomo. He's not liked. And you know, when he was governor, nobody liked him then. He just had this advantage of fundraising. And so he got through time after time after time.
But hang on, if Mamdani was a murderer, now people will question, well, who did he murder? Because people like Luigi Mangione too. I'm just saying. Which one? Who did he take out?
That's funny.
Lord, I'm too goofy for words. I don't even know what the hell I got to show. But
because you have good things to say. I appreciate coming back with you. It's nice to talk to you again.
Yeah, it's always a great conversation. You know what? The crazy part is this didn't even feel like an hour. It did not. And that's one of the best parts. It's like it goes and it's just like it's so much of a great flow.
Thank you. Before I go, I always tell people, buy my book. You can still buy my book, Presidential, now published 5 years later. I know you have it. I know you have promoted it. I thank you. And I have to catch up and write a couple include a couple of presidential administrations in it. But you can buy my book from the A Word, from Google Books, from your local bookstore, from the publisher Steerforth Press. And on Audible, you can hear me narrate.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Margaret, for coming by.
Thank you.
I cannot wait to hear from you again. And I'm gonna be messaging you on that Tuesday in November. I'm gonna message you. Be like, what are your thoughts?
November. I think it's November 4th is election day. I think that's the first.
Yeah, I think so. November 4th.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to. It will be. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate it from the top and bottom of my heart. If you'd like to see any more, you can look here. One, or